Very few artists come close to Freddie Mercury in phrases of flamboyance and worldwide success. I mean, he is seemed as one of the finest singers inside the records of rock song. Whilst his lovely voice played on the radio, it was so unique that it changed into not possible to mistake it for any other singer, so that you can recognize why Maximum fanatics found it tough to accept as true, with that any such guy whose life was so public had dark secrets and techniques that no person knew. Approximately, however, the sincere reality become Freddie did have secrets and techniques, and you'll be greatly surprised to research what they had been starting from his foundation. As Freddie grew in reputation, a lot of his enthusiasts had no concept. He became Indian, and it changed into apparent he favored it that way. Folks who controlled to get close to him discovered that he talked about his history as though it became repressive and, in close a chum, even said you may inform he didn't like talking. Approximately, he, in no way simply talked about his lifestyles, other than being in England. Ever to all people, he stated he'd become so glad that they had come to England. Freddie's dad and mom, Bami and Jer Bulzara, have been each born in Gujarat, India, and after they gave start to Freddie, they named him Faro Bulzara. His sister turned into Kashmira Bulzara. Younger Freddie, and his sister grew up in Zanzibar, an area this is now part of Tanzania. However, again, in 1946 Zanzibar become a British protectorate, and Freddie's mother and father Bamia and Jerbul Sara had simply come right here so that B should maintain his job as a cashier on the British Colonial Office. Given that they had been now in a British protectorate, Freddie become registered as a citizen of the United Kingdom. In the end, the own family had to go back to India due to the revolution. And the social unrest in Zanzibar, their first prevent, turned into Bombay, wherein Freddie continued his training at a boarding faculty for boys, and beyond books, it was here that he started to play the piano. Virtually, the boarding faculty turns into even greater essential to the tale. While you recognize that it was the area wherein Freddie first knew that track became something that he would enjoy and spend good-sized time on. In fact, at the age of 12, certainly one of his friends recalled that Freddie had an uncanny capacity to concentrate to the radio and replay what he heard on piano, so he formed a faculty band that he named the Hectics, which was capable of produce covers of rock and roll artists, which includes Cliff Richard and Little Richard the Honest Truth. Turned into that, Freddie best listened to Western pop music. This become the handiest music he listened to and played in step with the musical role models he appeared as, much as he chose to be acknowledged by means of the English name Freddie. His family quickly left India to transport to Fulham, simply outside London. They would alternate their domestic yet again once they moved right into a small residence. Freddie endured his training at Eorth Polytechnic in West London, wherein he studied art. He later moved directly to Eng Art College to look at image artwork and layout, eventually graduating with a degree. Whilst in college, his pals have been convinced that he turned into, without a doubt, bidding his time, and might quickly hop completely into tune. He nearly breathed music, considered one of his buddies. Recalled their time in faculty pronouncing right from the begin before he'd even joined a band. Freddie could say, "I'm going to be a pop megastar. You recognize the conviction." Frequently made a few people surprised if he wasn't just being delusional. Little did they recognize, following graduation, you will think Freddie would start seeking out a process that would permit him to place his diploma into exercise. But as a substitute, he started becoming a member of bands. He first of all joined Liverpool-based Totally band, IEX, later renamed Wreckage, which played very Hendrix-style heavy blues. Whilst this band failed to take off, he joined an Oxford-based Totally band, Sour Milk Sea. But after some years, this group broke up too. Whilst pursuing a career as a singer, Freddie changed into doing all varieties of peculiar jobs in and round London. He offered second-hand clothes or even labored as an airport porter sooner or later with a view to guide himself. His dwelling situations ranged from a flat above the Dovedale Towers to a pub in Liverpool, Mossley Hill District. But this by no means bothered Freddie. Now and again, he changed into the quiet and shy younger guy with a first-rate interest in music. And other times nobody knew he changed into a singer, they just believed he was that crazy friend because of his flamboyance, despite the fact that the breakthrough he wanted changed into no longer, but there he persisted, singing in bands all over London till the band disbanded, or he selected to move on. It changed into, in this kind of bandless instances, that he found out that his first-rate pals Brian May and Roger Taylor had additionally grown to be lately bandless. The timing was so correct that it changed into nearly as if it turned into written within the stars. Freddie had taken a while to wait, many of his friends suggests, and he had usually wanted to percentage the level with them, and it turned into the same with them. Brian and Roger had traveled to peer Freddie play too, and earlier than the quit of the show, each of them joined him on level for the first time anywhere. Liverpool turned into the metropolis where Freddie, Brian, and Roger performed together on a level, so this turned into the collaboration they had all been expecting. Humans simply failed to understand it. But luckily, straight away, Freddie requested them to sign up for him to shape a brand new band. The men didn't overthink it, and the band became shaped. Brian became a skilled guitarist, and even as Roger brought his drumming competencies to the desk, Freddie had his specific vocals performed. The piano and Will Reed tune whilst it got here to selecting the call for the band. Brian and Roger cautioned the grand dance, but Freddie proposed that they use Queen as the band call. Brian and Roger agreed, because they felt the name Queen became more direct. Every other major trade befell at some stage in this period. Freddie felt that, considering that they had been starting a new band in which he had more say and he was among his pals, he may be himself, absolutely. So he determined to alternate his call too. In view that he was a Virgo, he chose Mercury, as it changed into his ruling planet. The Indian Farak Bulsara completely disappeared, and in his area stood the Englishman who had a talented voice, Freddie Mercury. On June 27 of 1970, Queen gave their first actual performance at Truro City Hall. The humorous factor was this wasn't even their gig. No person had even referred to as the band Queen to return and carry out Roger. Mother had booked Roger, former band, to return play at a charity event she was organizing. However, earlier than the agreed date, Roger left the band, so in order not to let her down, Roger determined to have Queen play there as a substitute. Queen took matters quite seriously and searched for a foundation to complete the group. However, the subsequent year, Brian and Roger attended a disco at Maria Assumpta Coaching Education College, where they met John Deacon. The guys were delivered to him, they instructed him, they were searching out a bass player and asked if he would really like to audition with them and their lead singer, and he agreed. Queen was whole, and the rest, as they say, is records. The band was signed by Emmy Fax and Electro Information, and their debut album, Queen Become, launched. Even now, many praise it as one of the exceptional debut albums. Inside the records of Rock Tune, the group individuals have been the proper elements of a song-producing device. Freddie's very precise voice had an excellent variety of nearly 4 octaves, which drew humans' attention. This became what Spanish soprano Montserrat Cabal said approximately Freddie's strong point. While compared with other rock stars on the time, the distinction between Freddie and nearly all of the other rock stars become that he turned into selling the voice. Then she went beforehand and described it in a manner that made you know she had sat down to analyze Freddie's making a song capability. This turned into her statement. His method was extraordinary. No trouble of pace, he sang with an incisive feel of rhythm. His vocal placement changed into superb, and he changed into able to glide effects from a sign into some other. He also had a first-rate musicality. His phraseology was subtle, delicate, and candy or active, and slamming he become capable of find the proper coloring or expressive nuance for each phrase that become high praise from La Superba, which interprets to the high-quality one you'll discover. No argument that Montserrat Cabal has appeared as an international first-rate legend of opera. The stunning synergy of all of it changed into that whatever interest Freddie's making a song drew his band's first-rate delivery, kept and maintained that interest. It became what made the group extraordinary. Even when Freddie determined to release his solo career profession, it didn't suggest he desired to stop the band. This turned into his family, and there has been no quitting, but he felt the need to launch a solo profession consistent with him. There had been particular styles and depths of music he wanted to reach, a number of which he became certain his 3 friends, greatest rock stars had closed his eyes for the very last time, and the sector becomes silent. He had a large rite held via a Zoroastrian priest, as his mother and father had been Zoroastrians. The rite became attended by the band members and Elton John, among others. Freddie became cremated at Kennel Green Cemetery, and the whereabouts of his ashes are unknown these days. Out of his fortune, he left half of it to Mary Austin, and the rest become divided. Some of the humans closest to him and his family, musicians, and fans from all around the international paid their respects on the Freddie Mercury tribute live performance at Wembley Stadium 12 months later, and the proceeds were used to installation the Mercury Phoenix Trust, the AIDS charity set up in Freddie's memory. You need to admit that it changed into quite fantastic that in spite of all that fame, Freddie and all those surrounding him had been able to keep one of the darkest secrets and techniques of his lifestyles till the day before his demise. It doesn't trade. Whatever Freddie Mercury may be a rock icon all the time,